So this month we're going to use Photoshop for creating our bump maps. In future classes you'll use Substance Painter and potentially Mari to create your materials or your maps. Usually I would use a normal map, but those are more difficult to paint inside of Photoshop. So we're going to stick with bump maps for this month. And your bump map could be used as a displacement map as well. So they're not exactly interchangeable, but they're pretty close. So let's go ahead and kind of give a quick primer on Photoshop and some of the stuff you're going to need to know in order to create some bump maps. Okay, so you would go to File, New, or Open, right? Let's jump here. So File, New, and you would create the resolution of your map. So I have a custom over here that's 4096 by 4096. That's what I usually paint my textures at. As long as they're square. So the three that you're potentially going to use this month would be either 1024 by 1024, a 2048 by 2048, or 4096 by 4096. Okay, I would suggest that you guys just use 4096 because it's going to give you the most kind of texture resolution you can get. And that, I think, is what I had created out here, but we'll just create a new one. So I'm going to close that other one. And we have an entirely new document. When you open the new document, the layers should be open, but if they're not, you should see them on the right hand side of here. And the layers is kind of where Photoshop's power is, because we can locate our detail to multiple layers, and that way if we don't like one aspect of our detail, we don't have to get rid of everything. You can create new layers down here, and you can delete them here. You have the ability to do layer adjustments, and layer adjustments are nice because it's not going to run it once and then you can never undo it. So this is a way that you can always adjust it. So we could add an adjustment layer. This is a mask, so we have ways of masking things. And then let's create a new layer. We have the ability to do a couple effects over here too. So in this layering system, that's mostly what you'll be concerned with. Usually I like to start with 50% gray, or around 50% gray, for painting my bump maps. So over here, you just want the color to be around that 50% gray. It should be basically 128 by 128, 128, 128, or B. It should be 50% here. Okay, I'm going to hit OK, and then if you hold down Option and hit Delete, that's going to fill whatever layer you have here with that color. If you double click, we can rename this layer. So let's call this base underscore color. So we have our base color, and let's add a layer above that and call this big details. So just like modeling, you want to start with your kind of biggest details and work into them. And we're going to use mainly photographs for our texture work, but I'm going to show you a couple options to kind of create them inside of here procedurally. So you want to pick two different colors of gray over here. So I have the 50%, and then let's say you pick a slightly lighter one. And with a new layer selected and named Big Details, I'm going to go to Filter, Render, Clouds. So this clouds is on top of our base color. You can see it kind of made a cloud type pattern. And these would be like kind of the, if you had some unevenness to your surface, this is an easy way of adding it. You could slightly blur this. So I'm going to use this filter, Gaussian blur. The more soft this is, the more gradual changes will be. Let's just leave it up there. And then what I want to do is actually multiply this. So based on math, if this is black, anything multiplied by 0 will be 0, right? So it would turn black. If it's white, anything multiplied by 1, white is 1, would remain itself. So this is an easy way that we can kind of darken and lighten a texture in certain areas based on stacking these and using multiply. We can also change the opacity here to get more or less of that detail showing through. So this gives us a way that after we test this out inside of Maya to see what it looks like, we can make these subtle adjustments inside our layer, and we don't have to rerun that filter and try different results. So let's add another layer, and let's call this SM detail. It's a small detail. And for this one, I'm going to fill it with 50% gray. So Option Delete. I filled it. I'm going to go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise, and I like to have Gaussian and monochromatic. So Gaussian will make it more natural instead of uniform, and monochromatic will make sure it's all black and white. So let's just leave it at this, and let's say we don't want such a sharp noise pattern. I'm going to go Filter, Blur, Gaussian, and let's take this value down by quite a bit. So I just want it to be a little bit soft. So maybe something like that. So we're not going to have, it too sharp, maybe a little less. And then when I multiply this, you can kind of see that cloud pattern happening in the background and the smaller detail happening on top of it. So we could take this opacity down as well, and this will basically make it not bump as high when we take it into Photoshop. So if you want to kind of do some more research on Photoshop, things and areas to study, study everything about layers, how to make them, how to group them. So I could put this all inside of one group and call this bump. Right, so it's a way to organize your scene, just like we have the outliner in Maya, or the layer manager in Maya. Over here we have some different tools. We're going to show some of these as we start to clean up and make our textures, but we're going to use the healing brush a lot, the clone stamp brush, and possibly smudge and blur, and maybe some of the selection methods up here. So if you want to check out some more Photoshop kind of tools and stuff like that, you can check out some Linda videos. And the last thing is just the filters. So there's some filters in here that do different things, and you might find one that you gravitate towards. So check out the filters, check out the layer stack and how to manipulate those, and then the tools on the left here, do some additional research on what you should be doing with those.